Well, hello there, everyone. I'm gonna ramble at you today because there's a lot swirling in the town of Cawville, which I call my brain, because my initials are CAW. Caw. So, wow, so much going on in the world, huh? So much, and yet so little. What do I mean by that? I mean, we still have all this fake transparency with no real accountability on the Epstein stuff, right? That's number one. Number two, and I do mean number two, as in a big old dump, is I just want to say my opinions, which none of you asked for, but if you're here, I guess you may have some curiosity, and that's a good thing. A sentence kind of fell into my head years and years ago, long before COVID, long before, the apocalypse Armageddon times and the revelation times that seem to be happening. And I just want to clarify, I am not a Bible thumper, nor do I self-identify as a witch. I think those are extremes, and I have studied metaphysics and learned a lot and unlearned a lot and deprogrammed, which I think is very useful. Because I had a Nana who worked at the labs in Harvard Medical, so she was a science woman and very intelligent. And I had a pops, my grandpa, who got sober after, big ultimatum, big dramas. And my Nana took my dad and my aunt down to Florida to his family and said, the bottle or your family is what she'd said to him. And she was serious, so things must have gone down, right? Because this was the 40s. Women didn't leave men. But she was clever, and she said, you took vows to take care of us, and you're not taking care of us. So until you can learn to take care of yourself and be better with that, I'm leaving you. And she, at the time, again, because it was the times it was, and if you don't get your shit together, basically, she wouldn't have spoken that way, but she was very elegant, articulate, funny, sassy, feisty, short little red-headed, blue-eyed, Irish Catholic, round woman. Brilliant. Multi-dimensional, born, of course, as they say, way ahead of her time, though we know time isn't real, so that's a whole other conversation for another, time. Dad jokes. I got the dad jokes, even though I'm not a dad. But Annie Hootie and the Blowfish, she was a powerhouse, absolute powerhouse. And he was a little more of a gentle soul. And I think that really worked for them because they worked through all their stuff. He did get sober, and he was sober for the last 60, 70 years of his life because he lived about 96, I think. And so they, healed that, and she forgave him, and that was beautiful at that time. Okay, so here's my premise. The thing that, and so, he was the Jesus guy. She was the science woman. And I have a blend of that in my family. My mom's an artist and a designer, interior designer. And my dad was an educator. He was a superintendent of a very progressive school system in Brookline, Massachusetts. So I have a hybrid of a lot of different things, which is why I would be, if I were going to vote ever again, which I'm not, I would be independent. I would be a champion and a fan of critical thinking and independent thinking, and yes, even logic, and also mysticism. So I don't really lean into science or religion too hard in one direction or the other because they're all, this is the sentence I got, science and religion are the tinker toys of men. So to me, you can't be in this utopian matriarchal fantasy without acknowledging that all science came from men. And I'm not saying the women weren't doing the science, they just weren't getting the credit or the payment for it, as is, per usual, and still happens on planet Earth, which is hard to believe, but very true. That women do the emotional labor, the labor in the home, all the things. So am I a feminist? I think that was also created by males, and it's a psyop. So I'm a human champion, or champion of humanity, okay? I think we are beautiful. I think we are transcendent. I think we are amazing. I think we are resilient and resourceful. And I also think we are fucked up, and we start wars, and we, do horrible things. So, case by case. When I say we, I mean humanity overall, not women, because it seems to be the boys and the men who have really screwed things up royally, guys. And we're not saying not all men. We will say not all men. And there are good ones, and we know that. But, the fact that we have to say that is kind of, silly at this point, right? So I'm not really a big fan of matriarchy being being a replacement for patriarchy. I think we need something totally new. We've had matriarchy, we've had patriarchy, we've had oligarchy, we would have all the archies, which think about it, is, archons, if you want to go look that word up, Archon. So Masons love their wordplay, they love their doublespeak, and they love, playing all sides of every situation. So you have your controlled opposition people who want to say, trust the science. Well, I never did trust that science, thank goodness. And a lot of the people who did trust that science are now dead. And I don't trust religion because it's got so much misogyny. It hates women and it sees children as, property, or, think about, Herod going in and killing all the firstborn males. Like, religion's not it either, right? Like, so I think, people say, well, you cherry pick and you're double-minded and lukewarm. Okay, all right, I'll take your judgments, although really only Creator can judge me, right? I'm not a witch. I'm not a witch. I'm not a witch. I think it's great that some women are trying to reclaim that term for themselves and, take the stigma out of it if that's what they want to do. And if that's who they are, I support that choice. I just don't self-identify that way. Words that I do resonate more too, if you're going to have to label me, are mystic, oracle, seer, healer, writer, author, friend to people who are friends to me. And your worst nightmare if you're a liar. That's who I am. That's my chief label these days. If you're a liar and you're trying to deceive me, it's not going to go well for you, and it's not recommended. Leave it there. But yeah, I don't really vibe to science because it's flawed and it's been funded by Masons. And I definitely don't vibe to Harvard anymore because they're turning out automatons who are highly indoctrinated. So I don't think you need a degree, though I have one from a state school. I don't think you need a degree to advance in life or be intelligent. I think it's just a piece of paper. It will represent to you what you want or need it to represent, but it doesn't necessarily give you more opportunities, and that's the hard thing people don't want to hear. I went to college for the experience, for the socialization, to be in rooms where I could debate different things with different people from different walks of life. It was valid and wonderful for that. I learned how to research. I learned how to, have a premise and be able to go do the proper research to try to find sources to cite or statistics or charts or whatever. And now I realize that, again, that was all skewed. It was all skewed data, So I do believe in following your intuition. I don't think that makes you mentally ill. I think actually following any indoctrination in the man-made world makes you mentally ill and crazy. And those are labels that are lazy as well. I just think when we call someone crazy, we dismiss them. We lose our curiosity. We go into arrogance, and we leave dialogue behind, and then it becomes, some kind of narcissistic ego stroking, right? So there's a lot of great people out there who have a lot of insight and intel, and then there are a lot of shitty ones who have a lot of narrative and lies. So the biggest discernment in your life is not to get indoctrinated into any man-made system, but to find your own connection to whatever you feel the divine is in your life, whatever it's going to enrich your life. It's going to, bring you actual freaking miracles. It's also going to test you, and it's going to tempt you. And it's, whether we call this Lucifer and God, or whether we call it right and wrong, good and evil, light and dark, and then we throw in masculine, feminine curveballs. Like, science and religion are the tinker toys of men. They are far from true matriarchy. So if you're in that programming, and if you're in what I call the prestige programming of this person has this award, and that one's a Rhodes Scholar, and this one has that IQ, that was all, that's all measurements made by men. And to take a measurement made by a man and apply it to a woman who has a different operating system and a different different social conditioning and different bodily functions with her hormones and her womb and her cycles, like, it doesn't apply. Yes, we want to avail ourselves of modern medicine. We don't want to, if you break a leg, go get it, x-rayed and fixed. If you have some anomaly in your system and you need Western medicine for parts of that, I'm all for that. I'm not just like, go get a plant or an herb and a woo-woo energy healer and think you're good. I think you need all of it, or none of it. If you're really at a high frequency, you need none of it. But we are human, and we are humaning, and we're here to have the 3D human experience. Some of us are volunteer souls from more like a 9 to 11D and up. And so we stepped ourselves down. Does that sound arrogant and crazy? Yep, I get it. It does. However, again, these are just downloads and crown loads that I get. And I've been doing this work as a working psychic and mystic and channel for like 30 years. And it's how I live. So it's very normal, quote unquote, to me. And the normies and the muggles think I'm delusional crazy, and they are scared of me for whatever reason. That's their own fears of being seen, right? Because what is a person who, has been through a lot and has a lot of PTSD, not even from my childhood, but from my adulthood, what does that person become? A weapon. I'm now a weapon for the people who try to get me to want to die or fail or be confused or doubt myself. I'm a weapon. And you made me that way. So good luck if you keep trying your stupid old ways of bullying and threatening and, rape threats and gang rape threats and sodomy threats. That's what you got. That's the best you got, is terror and fear and silence and violence. I rebuke that. I will use religious languaging for that. I rebuke that. And I'll also use my sassy self language of, you can go fuck yourselves with that shit. Okay? So that's what I think women need to do, is reclaim all of your consciousness. Quantum, mystical, magical, intuitive, and tune out the male paradigms. Just stop listening. Just stop paying attention. Just stop letting them mansplain to you, whether it's in a female body or a male body. That's still fucking patriarchy, right? So, I think we need a new thing. I think we need a new thing that maybe doesn't even have a label. It's, maybe it's something like community, and sovereignty. Being sovereign, being a me in the we. If you can't be a solid, strong me with, yes, boundaries and self-esteem and clarity, then you can't be a functioning, contributive member of the overall we and the greater good. You just can't. So it's a dance, it's a balance, it's a journey, it's all these things. And, you can go woo-woo, or you can go hardcore science, or, there's podcast bros, and then there's the antidote and the pushback. That's all well and good. That's the marketplace, you guys. They're just trying to sell you shit. They're selling you. They think they know better than you about you. And that's delusional. That's mentally ill. That's coercive. That's patriarchal. And that's wrong. Okay? But sift and sort for yourself. Come to your own conclusions. Mine is that I don't really want to hear from, the bros or the hoes. I don't want to hear from, anyone who is outside of me. I'm going to, watch it for entertainment purposes. But I want to listen to my own intuition and my own guidance and my own life experience. That's what I want to listen to first and foremost. And I wish that for you too. Okay. But yeah, don't weaponize me and then get butthurt or confused or act dumb when, your life blows up because you tried to blow up mine. That's called karma, baby. And it isn't punishment. It's balancing and reckoning. So my favorite people lately are truth tellers or truth seekers or truth livers or truth lovers. And the liars and the deceivers can all just go fuck themselves. That's where my stance. All right. You find yours. Go sift and sort and feel into things. And something gives you a stomach ache or tightens up your throat or makes you kind of sweaty. Like, okay, you're in a trigger moment. You're in an activation moment. Lean in and explore it and try to give yourself the grace and space to know that something just hit your field and you're having to decide if you want to keep it or if you want to send it back. All right, you guys have a wonderful day, evening, afternoon, whatever it is, whenever and wherever you are, because I'm not in a race against anybody else. I'm in the human race. Much love.